Ukrainian forces destroy 2 Russian tanks on Kursk front with drone strikes. January 03, 2026. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex.
And I'm Maria.
And this is Defense Report, where we give you the sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense, military tech, and strategic developments.
Yeah.
And today.
Wow. What a headline to start the year.
Exactly. The pressure in the Kursk salient has just been relentless, but this highlights a critical truth. The breakthroughs Ukraine is making, they're not just about bravery anymore. They're about these terrifying leaps in technology.
The whole dynamic is shifting almost faster than we can track.
Right. So our mission today is to cut through that noise. We're going to synthesize the intelligence and focus on 3 big interconnected vectors that really define this phase of the war.
So first, on the ground.
Yeah, first on the ground. We'll get into how Ukraine's 225th Assault Regiment is just mastering mobile warfare, pushing deep into Russian territory and threatening to cut off Moscow's elite forces. It's a masterclass, really.
Then there's the tech, the mother drone.
The tech is a whole other level, this mother drone concept, extending the range of FPVs deeper than ever. And we'll also touch on the Ukrainian countermeasure, this new laser weapon called Trizub.
And finally, the money, the part that's often hidden.
Absolutely. We are peeling back the curtain on Russia's war economy. You see this GDP growth on the surface, but it's masking massive, just unsustainable deficits. They're draining their national welfare fund to stay afloat.
So we've got tactical breakthroughs, tech innovation, and financial fragility.
All in one deep dive. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the Kursk salient and that headline, 2 tanks destroyed. It's a snapshot, but it points to a much bigger story of attrition, doesn't it?
It really does. The cost for Russia, day in and day out, is almost unbelievable. The attrition figures from right around the new year are staggering.
Just how bad are we talking?
Well, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, on January 1st alone, just one day, Russian forces lost 1,060 personnel.
1,000 men in a day.
And that's not all. 7 tanks, 4 armored combat vehicles, and get this, 769 UAVs.
769 drones in 24 hours.
In a single day.
Yeah.
It just shows the sheer density of the drone war and, how effective Ukrainian EW and air defense are becoming.
So let's zoom back into Kursk specifically. That's been a real meat grinder.
A prime example, if you think back to their counteroffensive last autumn, Russia threw in some of their best units. We're talking about the 106th VDV, their elite airborne troops, and the 155th Marine Brigade.
The best they have. And they were trying to retake territory like Snagost.
Exactly. And the outcome for them was mixed at best, but at a catastrophic cost. The reports used words like horrible to describe the casualties.
It's horrible.
I mean, one company from that elite 106 VDV reportedly lost 90 out of 100 men.
90%. That's not a combat loss. That's annihilation. You can't just replace that kind of experience.
You can't. That unit is functionally gone. It will take years, if ever, to get it back to that standard. And while Russia was bleeding out there,
Ukraine was exploiting the opportunity. This is where the 225th Assault Regiment comes in.
Absolutely. The 225th, they have a lot of experience with these kinds of mobile assaults from the Belgorod operations.
Right.
And they just proved their tactical superiority here.
So what did they do?
They executed this deep, fast maneuver, punched right through layers of Russian defenses, even those dragon teeth obstacles, and pushed all the way to a town called Veseloye.
So they're not trying to hold the town forever. This is about creating a threat, right?
Precisely. By reaching Veseloye, they put themselves in a perfect position to hit the flank and rear of those elite Russian units trying to regroup near Glushkovo.
So you force the Russian command to react.
Immediately. Yeah. They had to divert critical reinforcements from other parts of the front just to stop the 106th and 155th from being completely cut off. So that one Ukrainian maneuver turned Russia's small tactical win into a huge strategic headache.
Using speed to negate mass. A classic. And this pressure isn't just on the front line, is it? It goes deeper.
Oh, much deeper. The campaign against their command and control centers has been relentless. We've confirmed strikes on command posts in Kursk Oblast throughout early 2025. It's systematic.
And it nets results.
Big ones. They eliminated the chief of staff of the Stormosecha Battalion. This ability to consistently strike deep is really the perfect transition to our next topic, the tech that's making it all possible.
Right. The technological arms race, it's just dizzying. Russia seems to be going for sheer volume, but Ukraine is aiming for these qualitative leaps.
Yeah, Russia's strategy is simple. Overwhelm with numbers. We have satellite images showing a massive increase in their Shahed drone production. They've doubled the worker housing at the site.
A second production line.
That's the strong indicator, yes.
Yeah.
And the numbers back it up. Over 4,000 separate UAV attacks in March of 2025 alone. It's industrialized terror, really.
But the truly game-changing development, the one we really need to get our heads around, is the Ukrainian response. The mother drone.
It's a brilliant concept.
So for our listeners, FPV drones are amazing, but their big weakness is range, right? The signal.
Exactly. It's limited by the radio frequency line of sight. The operator's flying it visually through goggles. And if that RF signal drops, the drone is a brick. That caps them at, what, maybe 15, 20 kilometers max? They're a frontline weapon.
So how does the mother drone system get around that fundamental problem?
It's ingenious. It uses a relay. So the system has a much larger fixed-wing recon drone, that's the mother.
A mother.
And it carries two smaller FPV kamikaze drones. The magic is that the big drone flies high above the battlefield and acts as a signal repeater.
Ah, so it's rebroadcasting the signal from altitude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It maintains that crucial control link between the operator on the ground and the FPVs even when they're far, far away. This boosts the strike range to 60, even over 70 kilometers.
70 kilometers. Suddenly, logistics hubs, command posts, anything deep behind the lines is vulnerable to a cheap FPV.
We saw it in action. The 413th Raid Separate Unmanned Systems Battalion used it to hit Russian engineering gear that was building fortifications 55 kilometers from the border. It's a massive strategic shift.
And it doesn't stop there. We've also heard about these fiber-optic drones. That sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. Why is that so hard to counter?
Well, this is the counter to electronic warfare, to jamming. Most drones, even the mother drone system, use radio signals. They can be jammed.
Right.
But a fiber-optic drone runs a physical tether, a tiny, hair-thin fiber-optic cable, all the way back to the operator. The control signal is a pulse of light.
So you can't jam it with radio waves.
You cannot. You'd have to physically sever that tiny cable while the drone is flying, which is next to impossible. There was a confirmed strike on a Russian tank 42 kilometers away using one. A second drone filmed it.
Which, of course, forces an equally rapid response on the other side. This brings us to systems like Trizub.
Right. Ukraine is developing the Trizub laser system specifically to shoot down these types of drones. But honestly, the bigger trend is about cost. You can't keep firing $100,000 missiles at $500 drones.
It's just not sustainable.
No, which is why we're seeing a comeback of cannon-based systems, like the German Gepard. Old-school guns are the most cost-effective way to deal with swarms.
So we're going from the missile era back to the cannon era for air defense. But if you pair that mother drone with autonomous targeting, what are the long-term implications? That's frightening.
It fundamentally changes everything. The ability to strike 70 kilometers deep cheaply. If you add autonomous targeting, you could launch hundreds of drones over a city to hunt for, say, power transformers or rail switches. You could paralyze an economy from afar. The cost per kill is just flipped entirely against the defender.
The defender's job just got exponentially harder. And speaking of costs, let's pivot to the financial engine behind Russia's war. We keep hearing about sanctions, but the war grinds on. How is their economy so resilient?
Well, the official numbers are contradictory. The economy grew by 3.6% in 2023, and it's kept that pace. And they've actually managed to decrease their reliance on oil and gas revenue, down to 28% of tax receipts from over 50% back in 2018.
So on the surface, it looks like they've successfully pivoted. But that growth has to be coming from somewhere.
It is. It's coming from debt-financed military production. The strain is hidden. Russian arms manufacturers are operating at huge deficits to churn out equipment, and those deficits are being financed by borrowing from the government.
So it's a colossal hidden war debt. The growth is just wartime credit.
Exactly. And to pay the immediate bills, they're tapping into their national savings, the National Welfare Fund. Think of it as the country's retirement account.
And how's that fund doing?
The liquid part of it has fallen by 2/3 since 2020.
2/3. So they're not just dipping into savings, they're liquidating them.
That's the perfect analogy. The Kiev School of Economics estimates that if they keep draining it at this rate, the fund might not last much beyond the end of this year.
And yet on the streets, the consumer market seems stable. How?
That's the China effect. Sanctions cut off Europe, but now cheap Chinese imports are flooding in, providing the same or better goods for much lower prices. It's an economic buffer keeping people satisfied.
And there's another much grimmer factor at play, isn't there? The social cost.
It's a tragic economic mechanism, yes. The large payments made to the families of killed soldiers These remittances are unlocking fresh cash in Russia's poorest regions. It's a terrible temporary stimulus fueled by the human cost of the war itself.
That entire fragile, debt-fueled engine is up against a European and Ukrainian defense industry that seems to be getting stronger and more integrated by the day.
It is, and it's moving from pledges to actual output. The EU has secured two-thirds of its promised 2 million artillery shells. A major Czech company is now dedicating production just to making shell casings. It's becoming structural.
And we're seeing deep partnerships forming, right, between Ukrainian and Western companies.
That is the long-term game changer. Look at Spain. The Spanish company Technov is now going to produce Ukrainian-designed armored vehicles, the Jura and Kozak.
So it's not just getting equipment, it's integrating their entire production into Western standards.
Precisely. It means long-term sustainability.
Yeah.
And you see it with high-value assets, too. Germany sending more IRIS-T and RCH-155 systems. The UK pledging 5,000 missiles. Kongsberg is integrating Ukrainian missiles into NASAMS launchers. It's a systematic shift.
So we've covered a huge amount of ground here. We've seen Ukraine's tactical brilliance in Kursk, fueled by this incredible drone innovation.
All set against Russia's mass production, which is itself propped up by a fragile, debt-ridden economy.
It's a stark contrast in strategies.
It really is. And it brings up a provocative thought for you to chew on. Russia is using short-term fixes, draining its savings, relying on imports, while Europe and Ukraine are building for the long term, with deep industrial integration. So the question is, if Europe's industrial base fully scales up, will Russia's short-term fixes be enough to offset that long-term manufacturing power? What does this all mean for the quality of Russian military hardware a year or two from now?
A question that really defines the entire future of this conflict. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.